All right, well, good. We're recording, we're live, and we are so honored to have this fabulous woman with us today. I mean, I know Andy Cohen is sort of the star of Bravo, but I feel like Daryn Carp probably really runs the show, you know?
Behind every good man, there's an even better woman. That's what I always like to say, you know?
Our motto.
Yes.
And Daryn, we were talking about this. You probably are. We're trying to think of a bigger celebrity assistant than you. The only name that could come to mind was Kim K back in the day when she was Paris Hilton's assistant for a second.
I think that's probably right. I mean, if I have any luck, I would kill to be as successful as Kim K. The only one that came to mind was Ross Matthews on E, an assistant to Chelsea Handler, maybe, or somebody.
Okay, wait, I always thought that Ross Matthews got his big break with Jay Leno. Wasn't he Jay Leno's red carpet assistant? That was sort of how, and then he went over to E, I thought.
That might be right. He's kind of the only other one that I could kind of think is a similar way, where he started out, kind of behind the scenes, but wants to be in front. But let's just say it's me only, exclusively me. That makes me feel so much better. Even if we're lying, just give this to me, guys.
Oh,
2020 is terrible.
You have it.
Yeah, you've got it. You've got it. You have an amazing career, which we're going to talk about your podcast career, Reality Check. You're in your studio today. But a lot of people know you because you did get your start as Andy Cohen's assistant. And, reading about and, of course, following your career, you were an NBC page. And then it sounds like you literally got almost handpicked by Andy to then come work with him. Is that how it went down?
Okay, I mean, I want to say that's how it went down, but truth of the matter is, I started out as an NBC page, and at that time, which was 10 years ago, you could leave at any time. So just for anyone who wants to be a page now, the rules are a little bit different. This was a decade ago, but essentially I was a page for about 8.5 months, and my dream goal is to be a game show host, and I told my page bosses that. I was like, I didn't care if people judged me. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going out for. And the job came out to be the production development coordinator for a guy named Andy Cohen at the time at Bravo. And they thought that I would be a good match for it based on personalities. He does what I wanted to do. And truth of the matter is, I didn't want to be an assistant, and I looked down on it, to be fair. I wanted to go be a reporter in, middle of the United States, work my way up, how people had normally done years previous. And I missed the deadline to apply. And my page bosses had brought me back in. They were like, we really think this is the best job for you, knowing on what we know, Thank God they knew me better than I did at that time. I mean, I was only 22 and I applied for it and had 4 rounds. And I met with Andy my 4th round. And about 5 days later, I got the job. So I wasn't handpicked, but I was competing against other people, and my page bosses saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time. And thank God for that.
What?
That is incredible.
That is amazing. And of course, go ahead, AJ.
No, I was watching a funny clip about you, and you said that you had done a little bit of stock reporting. And so for Andy, he made you stand up and give a little stand up of a stock that he just made up.
Bausch and Lomb. And I went to a very small private liberal arts college. I mean, we really didn't have a lot of communications or media. I had my own radio show, and I'd intern at CNBC and PBS, but I had no connections in the media industry. And when I used to it was an externship for a week at PBS, this local affiliate in Pennsylvania, I wanted to start building my reel in some sort of way. And so they were stand in front of our green screen and do some stock reporting for us. And he made me do that. I put it on my resume. He made me do it in front of him. And I got to say, there are different definitions of nerve wracking and peeing your pants. Doing a fake ad lib stock report for 30 minutes in front of Andy Cohen will definitely make you change your bowels for sure. I can guarantee that.
That's incredible.
So, 10 years ago, though, Andy wasn't really Andy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, so you work for this guy. Did you see potential in Andy Cohen when you first started working with him? Or you're thinking you're trying to get out of this NBC thing? You're thinking, I don't want to be this guy's assistant. I don't know who the hell this guy is. He's come up with this damn housewife show. I mean, did you know Andy was magic 10 years ago, or you guys grew together?
Well, I think both, right? Because when I started with him, I mean, the joke is sort of like I started with him as Andrew Cohen and now I'm with an Andy Cohen, but he had a show on air, 1 or 2 nights a week at that point. I mean, he certainly had gone past the digital realm. It was his first kind of stint on TV. I mean, I knew as not a Bravo fan at all. In fact, in my interview with him, I told him I hated all the housewives. It was my least favorite Bravo show. So the fact that he hired me was insanely amazing. I mean, for the record now, huge fan of all the housewives and I appreciate it. But at 22, it was like, all these women are so much richer than me, and I was like heated about it a little bit. Now I can appreciate it. But I mean, I knew he was magic then because I could understand the weight of Bravo, because when I was applying, I told a lot of my friends, my college friends at the time, that I was going out for this. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, this guy named Andy Cohen at Bravo. They're like, wait, Andy Cohen at Bravo? So among my constituency, I mean, he had already sort of made it. So I knew that there was a magic sauce there, but certainly his level of fame and his huge empire that he built, we've grown together for sure. I mean, he's the best mentor in the industry I could ever ask for. And I came in at the exact right time.
Oh my God. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Well, I was going to ask, I read too that you loved the show Millionaire Matchmaker, and nobody to me is more amazing than Patty, right? But Patty's bananas. Like, I had a friend that used to work with her, and I'll save the stories, but let me just tell you, it didn't work out. She hired my friend to run her website, the Millionaire Matchmaker website.
Yeah, of course.
And it was a hot mess. But that, to me, when I read that about you, I was like, that is my favorite. That was my favorite show, too. Would you guys ever redo Millionaire Matchmaker, maybe with like a different Patty?
I mean, I don't want to say never because it was such a great show. I mean, it was one of those shows where you could just put it on all day. We all have TVs at our desks, and I would just put it on and binge. And every time it was like, oh my God, these people are crazy. These people are nuts. I will say, even though I love the show, one of the reasons it was a little bit of a trick in my interview is like, I kind of wanted to throw in that I was gay as well. So I was like, Millionaire Matchmaker, because it teaches me what to do on dates with women. And like, I was trying to like relate, I was like, you're gay, I'm gay, hire me. I was just throwing every chip I had basically into the fire. But I love Patty Stanger, and, she's just such brilliant TV. I don't want to say never say never, but, we'll see. We'll see.
I know that was one of my favorite shows either. Yeah. And Patty is a trip. I mean, honestly, you didn't even need the people on the dates. Like, you could just follow Patty. Like, Patty was exactly. I mean, Patty giving all this relationship advice, yet never had a successful relationship. It was like, this is brilliant. I mean, but I would still take Patty's advice.
I would 100%. And I would believe everything she said. If she was like, change your shirt, change your looks, change your hair, do this, do that, I'd be like, all right. And I'm not Daryn anymore. And I'm good with that. As long as Patty Stanger is accepting me, I feel complete with myself.
Daryn, you just brought it up. I love too that you're so out, you're so transparent about your sexuality. Was that ever difficult being in media? I feel like, you're our age, like you're a little younger. Now I feel like it isn't a big deal, but did you ever second guess it coming out?
I mean, I think for me, like, I came out when I was in college. So, but by the time I was in my really professional career, it was like impossible for me to hide. And honestly, like I always say, like every year it gets better to be a woman. It gets better to be a gay person, as much as we don't really see that. Like, I'd rather come out, now than I would have when my parents were growing up. So I sort of saw all the value of that. I mean, certainly working at Bravo, which is literally the gay mecca of television. And for Andy Cohen, it was like, I have the support system I need 100%. I had already dated a girl in the Page program at that time. So I didn't really question it. I would say the hardest thing for me was in college, before you kind of know everything. The hardest part for me was coming out to myself and accepting maybe this different life than I was expecting for myself as a kid. And once that happened, it was like, I mean, listen, I'm a tomboy. My name is Daryn. Like, come on, I can't hide that. I got to own this, and it's proven to be very, very helpful.
Oh, yeah. So awesome. I think it's just so brave because, you forget. I grew up, I have 9 aunts and uncles, and 2 uncles are gay. We call them our gunkles. And,
of course,
you forget how difficult it was for people, and still is, that struggle to come out. So I think anybody who's out and owns it, just, it's a ripple effect. You help so many more people than you even know by just living your truth.
I found that to be really helpful. I mean, even just knowing how comfortable Andy was with it. I mean, he sort of always says that him and I both kind of say like being gay is probably the least interesting thing about us. Yeah. And what a great thing to finally be able to say, you know, where like being gay isn't like this showstopper of a thing anymore. Everyone's like, okay, and like that's all I ever wanted. I almost wanted it to be this boring subject, and now it sort of feels like it's becoming that, and I'm really grateful for that. You know, it's like gay people, we're just like everyone else.
Yes,
but,
true.
You know,
well, look,
oddly enough, you have gunkles. My uncle is a monk, and I call him my munkle. So there you go.
Well, Daryn,
okay, love this.
No, go ahead, Age. I was going to say, look, we find you adorable. We think you're so hot. I went to an all-women's college. I wish you had been there. I would have been dating you. I went on to marry a man, but you know,
That's
look.
semantics. That's semantics, Sarah. You could have still married me. You know what I mean?
I know.
Tons of women are doing it in the Hamptons where they're just screwing their yoga teacher, but still married to a man. I could have been that yoga teacher for you.
I know.
This is true. Are girls just sliding into your DMs on the regular?
Yes. Do they? I mean, you are so hot. Like, what? Yeah. Do you just get hit on all the time? Of course, come to find out they want to be on Housewives, but you're like, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah, I was like, I'll take it any way I can get it.
Whatever.
You know, it's funny because I look like I'm 19, but I'm really 32. So sometimes I get a lot younger of girls, you know, they're like 21-year-old, and I'm like, I am a full decade older than you. Absolutely not, even though I don't look it. I would say, like I get girls sliding into my DMs, not as much as you'd think. I mean, I just got out of a pretty serious relationship. I'm a serial monogamist.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, when you're in relationships here and there, and, you know, the good thing about women and good thing really about lesbians is they're not sending you like dick pics, you know, like they're really, really respectful. And they'll be like, here's a book I think you'd like. Do you want to talk about it? And they're tackling me from an intellectual standpoint, which is literally the hottest thing ever.
Wow. Yeah. I can't say I'm used to that in the slightest. It's literally disgusting dick pics.
Come over to our side, AJ. Come over to our side. Yes.
This is incredible. Now, we actually have a lot of lesbian listeners that always, I get those DMs. Sarah gets a lot of men that are like sugar daddies.
I get the ugliest, hairiest dicks, and I am trying to come over to your side. It's hideous. Look, I've had more sets of balls, and it's just the worst.
I know. That's what I'm telling people who don't think that, you know, you can't choose the sexuality. I'm like, but if you could, a lot more women would choose to be lesbians than they are. Trust me on that one.
We all would.
It is so accurate. And I wanted to ask you how you went from, you know, Ask Andy, you kind of pitched that as a show. That was incredible. And then you went on to do the Martinis and Murder. Was there a one little catalyst that helped you, or was it just constantly pitching shows that helped you launch all these other shows?
That's a really good question, because when I started off with Andy, I mean, it was my first, outside of being a page, it was my first, like, you know, corporate gig. You know what I mean? You're in half an hour earlier than everyone else. You're staying half an hour later, no matter what. Like, you know, it's 9 to 5 type of grind. And so I said to myself, like, I'm going to devote 2 to 3 years of just assisting Andy. You know, they usually say it takes about 6 to 9 months to really get the hang of a job. And this was my first one. I mean, I had no idea what rolling calls were. I had no idea that you couldn't tell people when they called where Andy actually was. Like, there was this assistant etiquette that I really needed to learn. And it were certainly growing pains. But thank God I said to myself, you know, like, I want him to know he's my number one priority. That's why I'm here. And once that was sort of established where we had that trust, he used to do this thing called viewer mail with like this flip cam. And I asked him, I was like, can I convert that and interview you with the same questions? And it helps me build my reel. And so he was like, absolutely. So once like I established that trust and Bravo Digital got to know me a little bit more, I mean, I was cheap talent. I'd do it for free. I had access to Andy. It kind of snowballed from there. And then I would start pitching more shows. And I was always very, very vocal about what I wanted to do, while also maintaining that sense of like professionalism and balance. You know, I wasn't going to necessarily take advantage of it. It wasn't like the second day where I was like, hey, Andy, give me my own show and let's take a selfie and let's increase my Instagram follower count, because that never is genuine. And that really wasn't my goal. I do believe if you get so famous overnight, you're just going to drop down the next day, as opposed to really building this long-term thing, which is what I was trying to do. And I never thought I was going to be with Andy for more than 4 years. And I just passed 9 years in March.
9 years.
Well,
it's been a while. Yes.
So, okay. So I want to ask you like what the day-to-day is like with Andy, because I'm sure you guys have some crazy stories and scenarios. But after all this time, now obviously you are a host, podcast, you know, your own reality check show, like all that. So how do you even assist him now? And I just heard that you said he doesn't like change. So he wants you to stay on.
It's good job security for me. I like that he doesn't want to change. So I remember when I started out with him, my dad's advice was always, prove yourself to be indispensable, especially in this industry. It's like, if you're the yes person and you're the one saying like, I can get it done better and faster and quicker than anyone else, you've got job security for the rest of your life. And because it was a one-on-one interaction, I really could do that effectively with Andy. The job has really shifted because in 2014, we were both corporate at NBC. I was staff at NBC Universal. I got health benefits from them. It was great. But then we decided to leave, and he was starting his own production company. He was still going to EP all the housewives, his own show, but he wanted to start, Bravo Andy, most talkative, this big media empire with Sirius Radio and his other shows and going on tour. And so he pulled me into the office and he was like, once the deal got through, he was like, you can stay on, be my assistant, also assist the head of development at Bravo, get your benefits, get your 401k. I was like 25 at the time. Or you can leave with me and run the world with me. And it took me about 2 seconds to realize what I wanted to do. I mean, certainly at 25, who gives a crap about your 401k?
Literally.
You want a mentor. Like, that's the thing people don't tell you, especially in this industry. Like, if you have a great mentor, that is literally the best gift that you can ask for. And it was a no-brainer. And so basically, since shifting that, our days have gotten a little bit better. I mean, listen, when I got this PeopleTV gig, which is really like 12 to 4 Monday through Thursday. So essentially half my workday was going to be spent at another office. It wasn't like he could call me during an interview. I sat him down and I told him about my opportunity. I mean, I'd been with him for almost 9 years. And I said, listen, this is coming about and it's pretty great. And I really want to do it. And he was like, and I was going out for another position at the time, also on air at this other network. And he was like, do both. I go, do both. Like, how can I do both and also assist you? He's like, well, figure it out. Like, don't worry about it. I'm just so proud of you. I just want you to focus. I just want you to succeed.
That's amazing.
And so, to be fair, I want to say it is a testament to maybe me staying with him along and knowing what's priority, which is certainly the case. I can rattle off a social security number. I can rattle off contacts, no problem. But it really came from Andy's trust in me and our relationship developing, where he knows now inherently that I'm going to get the job done. It might not be as quick or as timely as it was before, but no matter what, I'm not going to bed until that task is done. And he's really just let me go and do as many things as I possibly want. I mean, he's honestly like the biggest support system I absolutely have.
Damn. Oh my God. That is like the opposite of most entertainment stories. Most of the time you're like, yes, I left NBC. I don't speak to anyone there. I couldn't tell you.
I know. We had our first annual BravoCon last November.
Yes.
Like, insanely amazing. One of my favorite memories. And
That's
Bravo
what we heard.
really hired me to do 19 on-air spots, basically going around, because I'm this like guinea pig of Bravo where I know everyone and I want to be a host, but I'm not as famous as Andy, who needs to like focus on other stuff. So I got to just like bop around, and I was doing this panel, this Ask Andy panel. So I got to interview Andy in front of 2,000 people at Hammerstein Ballroom. And he gets up there, this is like my first like big thing where I'm interviewing him. He gets on the mic and he's like, Daryn came to come interview to be my assistant. And she said that she wanted to be a game show host. He goes, anyone else in the industry would look at her and be like, absolutely not. Like, I don't want, he's like, but I saw something in her and I knew her and we got each other. And like, it's been amazing. She's following in my footsteps. And he said that in front of 2,000 people. And I was like mid tears. Like, I was crying. Yeah. So I was like, I can't believe he recognizes this in me. Like, having his approval was more than anything I ever wanted. But, I was honest and I was authentic, and I think that he really took to that. He saw something in himself. He saw something in me that he sees in himself. And I think that's really been a testament to our relationship over the past decade or so.
Okay. So as a celebrity assistant, what do you do day to day? I mean, are you dealing with Bubba Booey when Howard Stern says, I want, Andy on, we're going to do this interview? I mean, are you setting Andy up on dates? I mean, and then I want to know who this person was that called and you said, oh yeah, Andy's down at the deli, and then they go down. So talk us through like what your career has been like as far as a celebrity assistant.
Well, certainly it used to be, scheduling this and that. I mean, it's a game of Tetris, right? And I still hold all of the schedules. So anytime you want to book Andy for something, like, you really have to go through me. I think with Howard Stern, Andy's got his own channel at Sirius. So they probably just text each other and he'll say like, sure, I'll come in before this and do that. And all of a sudden I see it on a schedule and I'm like, okay, great.
I guess he's doing Howard. Okay, I guess he's doing Howard.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's, especially in quarantine too, like he's had to do some of the tasks, like print his own cards and do this stuff that maybe the staff of Watch What Happens Live would do. He has to set up his own camera. So quarantine has sort of taken these loads off of some of us and put it on him, which has really been interesting. But it really depends because our jobs have really, really shifted. And so I kind of like to think of myself as like a manager of his life. I mean, I've never gone to go get his dry cleaning. It's been pretty rare where I've gotten to like go get his lunch or a coffee or something like that. And even now, like if I have to go do something like that, he emails me. He's like, annoying assistancy stuff. I know that you're ahead of it, but can you do this thing for me? And I'm like, of course, that's why I'm here. Like, I want you to want me, but I think he recognizes that like after 9 years, I'm not the same. I don't like need to pay my dues as much as maybe I did back then. So the day-to-day has certainly very, very much so shifted. And now that he isn't an exec at Bravo in terms of running a department, it's a lot freer. You know what I mean? Like I can focus on Watch What Happens Live and I can focus really on his outside stuff, which is where I come to play. I went on tour with him and Anderson and I would run the meet and greets. I handled all the merch for them, so I got my own sort of business savvy from just being a part of their show and their lives. And it's been kind of great. I mean, the day-to-day tasks can range anything from like trying to get a beach permit for the summer for a house to, like let's set up a call with Nene Leakes. It really ranges the entire gamut. And I honestly don't even think Andy knows about his life as much as I do. Like he'll text me and be like, what's my hat size? And I know it. And that's the saddest thing I could say. He'll be like, what's my shoe size? And I'm like,
you know everything.
Why do you not know your shoe size? It's 9.5. Like I give him crap for it all the time, but I think I know it quicker than he does.
So you guys are almost in a relationship. Like, where do you have to draw the line? Do you spend holidays together?
That's a good
point. Do you sleep in the same bed on holidays? Like, what happens?
God, no, please, no, God, please, no. Not setting him up on dates. I trust that Andy can do that for himself for sure. Okay. But maybe the past couple years, there's always a fine line between being professional and personal, and you never wanted to draw it. I mean, I told him actually a few months ago, I was like, I just want you to know that you're my number one priority always. Like I was getting a little impostery syndrome where I was doing all these other shoots and not for him, where I was like, I need to remind him that he's still my number one. I don't want him to feel any weird guilt or anything like that. And he knows who I am. Like I put more pressure on myself than he ever needs to really. But our relationship has certainly shifted. And I think the first time I kind of knew that I was quote unquote inner circle was when he turned 50 2 years ago. And he was having a big blowout party at Four Seasons with all of his like close friends, and the Grateful Dead, John Mayer performed for us at 1 a.m. The president was being invited, all these famous people. And I get this email from him, this like save the date. And I write to him, I go, looks great. Like, let me know who you want me to send it out to, because I had done that for his Christmas party and book tours and things like that. He goes, no, sweetie, you're a guest. And I was like, and he was like, bring your girlfriend. You are a seated guest. And and it was like, I didn't expect that, obviously, like this is his 50th birthday party. This has to be that. But it was my first time where I was like, wow, like I'm in now and I'm in his inner circle where he trusts me to be around all these amazing people and all these friends of his. And like, I just can't believe it. And, I went to his son's first birthday party. I helped arrange for that during the Super Bowl party, which was literally just like 25 people in his house. So I wouldn't say that we're like, sleeping in the same bed and bunk buddies. I always want to make sure that I maintain that level of professionalism. But he's definitely invited me over into his personal life now.
It's got to be difficult, though, where the line is, Daryn, because you're here at his birthday. John Mayer's there, right? Howard Stern, Grateful Dead. How are you not? See, I would be fired because I'd be over to John Mayer going, hey, I do this show, Reality Check for PeopleTV. I'd love to book you. How do you write? What do you do? It sounds like you really know the line. Like I know don't.
The line. And I think, that's one of the reasons he hired me. Like in the interview with him, my first day, his first meeting, when he's asking me like, what's your favorite Bravo show? What's your least favorite Bravo show? And I'm saying, I don't like any of the housewives. And, his mouth is agape because like, who is saying this?
Says that?
Andy Cohen, you know what I mean? And I think from there, he sort of knew that like, and I look back and I'm like, yeah, he didn't want someone who was going to take a selfie with Ramona Singer or Sarah Jessica Parker every time she walked in the office. He wanted someone that was going to be cool, and represent him. And I think just my general like apathy maybe towards housewives at the time, like actually proved in my favor. Yeah, exactly. And like, I've never been like that. Like, I don't I remember he invited me, he was hosting the CFDA Awards, which is in fashion is like, right below the Met Ball. I mean, we're talking Mecca of Mecca. And I'm standing back there. He invited me as his guest. I'm standing back there. I'm standing next to Hillary Clinton, Ralph Lauren, Oscar de la Renta, like just sitting there. And I'm like, okay. Like, I can't believe this. I've met Michelle Obama because of him.
Sure.
And I think me just being, who I am or representing him. I mean, he's just a really good example of what to follow. That at the party, it was like, I'm here for Andy. You know what I mean? I'm a seated guest. I'm not going to embarrass him. It's not worth it for me to try and I'm not going to ruin my relationship with him just to get an interview with someone else, because that will come in time. And if he trusts me and he'll put in that good word for me, I'll get it. It'll be so much easier to get that interview that time than if I went over there by myself to embarrass him,
You are the right woman for the job. Yes. We would have been fired long ago.
Yeah, we always have to remind ourselves that, Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes a long time to build a career. And even with Sarah, I started as an intern, and you have to build that relationship, and then you work up to being a producer and, pitching show topics. But,
you're the yes man for the first few years. And I think that it's important, but you kind of have to earn that right to say no. When I tell a lot of people, a lot of interns that have informationals with me, I'm like, your first job is rarely your dream job. I knew at 22, I wasn't going to be a game show host making $5 million a year. Like, that wasn't going to happen. And I think that that's okay. I always tell people your 20s are really where you establish what you want to do. Your 30s are for kind of establishing that specific role, and your 40s are where you make money. And I think if you can have that in your mind and know that it's 20-year trajectory, it's a lot easier to handle, certainly when you're starting off, in a career like this.
Daryn, it must be so great to just sit in your shoes and observe everything. And now, are you often on the set of Watch What Happens Live, or, does Andy consult with you? So I loved when Deborah Winger was on, and I loved all that, then Andy coming out.
You loved it?
Well, I love her because she's so anti-Hollywood. Even though, as you recall, in the 80s and 90s.
Andy, it seemed like Deborah Winger was. I mean, she gave him some dude. She was tough.
Exactly. Yes. Right. She had a very odd chemistry with him, but not a lot of people do interviews with her. So I thought it was amazing. And he asked all the questions we want to know, right? You want to know what it's like to make out with Robert Redford, or, you want to know, right? So does he ever call you after these and go, he wants your opinion? Because you obviously help him with Watch What Happens Live. I mean, do you almost now assist in a way of trying to help him navigate interviewing guests?
That's like having, what am I going to offer him that he doesn't already know? And Watch What Happens Live is such a well-oiled machine. I mean, I think for him specifically, because he started out as a producer, he knows what people need to see on television to make a great show. He understands behind the scenes, which makes him so effective in front of the camera. And that's one of the things that I've learned from him is let me just stand behind here and see it. I don't go to the show every night because I do work all during the day, and then the show is live at night. And so it would be a very, very long day for me to go. And truthfully, I don't need to be there. I'll certainly be there. It was funny because I went when Sarah Gilbert was on, randomly, I'll go to some pre-tapes during the day. I was there and he was like, did you just go because I have a lesbian on the roster today? And I was like, coincidentally, no, but that's hilarious that you thought that. He was like, just came to my mind. It would be very rare if he wanted my opinion on something. I mean, certainly with a larger issue, gay rights, he might ask a female's point of view, and he has me right there. But it's kind of rare. I mean, I've read when he started his book imprint, one of the first books he came out with was A Woman from Married to Medicine, this woman, Dr. Jackie. And it was all about vagina health. And he gave me the galley of the book and he was like, can you read this and just make sure it's good for something that I know nothing about? And I was like, vagina topics, I got you on this
Spark
one.
noted, yeah.
Right. So he'll ask me my advice there just from a female perspective, maybe a young gay female viewer, because I am that and I'm a fan. But truth of the matter is, he doesn't need any advice from me, and I will just absorb everything he's doing because he's a freaking genius.
He really is. I mean, just one of the greatest ever. behind the scenes and on, which is hard to do. It's hard to translate, hard to be a great producer on and off.
And wildly smart. He's wildly smart.
We want to talk about Reality Check and, of course, Martinis and Murder, your podcast. But I did want to ask you, Bravo has been in the news a lot with the firings of Vanderpump, with a lot of topics about going back on people and saying, bringing up maybe if they had a racist comment. Do you feel like it was time that they did that? Do you feel like that was the right move? How are you feeling about cancel culture and, a lot of these celebrities for Bravo now getting caught up in that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not usually a fan of cancel culture in general, just because I feel like it does stifle conversations that need to be had in that moment. And I do feel like if you're just canceling someone for something that might have happened a few years ago, you can't create a teachable moment there. You know what I mean? And have someone really own what they're doing and maybe give reason to why they're doing it. So I'm usually not a fan, but I absolutely support Bravo in their decision. I mean, they made the right move in order to do that. It certainly wasn't going to be a good look to keep, these people on, especially considering what they had done.
Right.
And so it was an important move for our network to make, that they don't stand for that. And that was the way to kind of do it. And I think, while cancel culture, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily, fond of, I do think appropriate action sometimes really needs to be that you can't keep your job if these things happen. I just don't want that to be the default for everything going forward. I don't want it to be like, all right, 8 years ago when someone was 16, they made a stupid, albeit bad joke. Do they deserve to be fired for the rest of their life at 16? I would argue no. I think people can change, and I think people can learn. I think the environment isn't entirely different now. It doesn't excuse what they did, but I think saying under the context of like, hey, I don't really mean it, or I'm 16 at the time, that does matter in the reasoning for it. And I think, people need to be willing to sort of hear something that they don't necessarily like in order to have the right dialogue moving forward.
No, we agree. We talk about this topic a lot because, you saw Jenna Marbles over the weekend and Shane Dawson and Barstool Sports today. And we're in the same boat, like navigating it, how one person gets canceled, the other person doesn't. And, we agree with you largely. It just seems, and, ultimately all of us make mistakes. So
I was going to say, anyone can be canceled, right?
Anybody, right?
Out of context, take something out of context, sometime, one place, a hot mic, and your whole career could be done. And, especially with Vanderpump, I mean, they're my age. They're in their 30s. They got plenty of career to go. It's not like, you feel a little less bad when it's 70-year-olds who kind of have run their course in their life and made their money. But with 30-year-olds, you'd hate to see that, like, now they can't have any source of income, because they were caught on something. And I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that maybe it shouldn't be the first thing that we do, because it's extremely scary. And I feel like it's forcing an issue where people don't even want to say anything on social media at all.
I agree. It almost becomes to the point where you no longer have these conversations, whether it's about sexuality or gender or, race.
You don't want to say the wrong thing.
Exactly. You get so caught up in, like, if this is taken out of context, like you said, I agree. And I feel like there's a really bad reaction to that, instead of, we agree. We talk about this all the time on our show of bringing these conversations to light and, like, how do you help somebody get, perspective and realize what they did was, wrong without canceling them? Yeah, we're right on the same page. We totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's tough. And, Andy, one of the first things Andy always told me, he was like, never read like YouTube or social media comments. Like, it's not going to help your psyche to be reading this stuff, and all the trolls are, in the comment section of anything. So, obviously, like, don't be racist, don't say horrible things, but at the same time, like, don't be wheedling in every single comment to try and find, if you're looking for trouble, no matter what you're doing in a relationship, in a show, in a person, you're going to find trouble. Like, no one is perfect in this world.
Yeah. Tell us about your podcast, Martinis and Murder. I was a big true crime girl for a long time. I did a true crime series for Fox 5 in DC. And then I got a little not so enamored with it. But anyway, I didn't love it as much when I actually investigated. But I'm curious why you like, what you're attracted to when it comes to true crime stories. And, obviously your podcast is great.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So when Oxygen was rebranding to become a true crime network, I mean, obviously, if you remember, Oxygen was it had snapped on it for a while, but it was, Bad Girls Club and tons of different shows that we really didn't know the brand. And so when they were shifting to true crime, Serial had just come out as a huge, massive true crime podcast. And so they wanted to capitalize on that. And John Thrasher, who was my amazing, amazing co-host, also a gay guy, ran digital at Oxygen at the time. And he had a bunch of podcasts. I mean, he was hosting like the #1 Glee podcast at the time. So he had a ton of experience. And he came to my desk and he was like, listen, like Oxygen wants me to do a podcast. We have such a good rapport. We had met on a red carpet. We both had really similar interests. Do you want to do it with me? And we sat down and we tried to think of the theme. And, we had thought of something called like Murder Town USA, where we were going to cover a murder in every single state a different week, and kind of like redo the formula as we got through it. And then our executive producer was like, you know what? I want a drink. And so he was the one to come up with, it was going to be like Merlot and murder, but he was like, let's do martinis. And, it also puts this really, palatable spin on true crime, because I think while it's an absolute serious issue, I mean, we make sure we never make fun of our victims. It's kind of a comedy podcast, but we make fun of ourselves in kind of this, how would I survive? How would John survive? We're never making fun of victims.
Sure.
But we're able to tell a story to the masses without it feeling like so heavy and terrible. And so I think that we kind of came in at the right time to be fun and flirty with this really serious manner. And I got to really see that firsthand when we started doing Crime Con, which has been going on for the past 3 years. And listen, the people who go to that, sometimes they're people, and we've seen it now, like who are in really, really, really bad socioeconomic status. They might be the wrong color. They might be the wrong gender. And when that happens, a lot of those crimes don't get solved. And I've been a huge proponent of the Innocence Project because I don't believe in capital punishment.
Yep.
And so the Innocence Project is this really like nonprofit that tries to exonerate those that are on death row via DNA evidence. And so they've already exonerated over 300 people from this alone, which just goes to show how terrible the death penalty is in general, that we could actually, have a state sanctioned innocent killing. And that has really brought a lot of notoriety to Martinis and Murder, and sort of is this overarching theme where we might be able to make you laugh, but we want you to get this general message across. It's been really great. And it's one of my favorite things to do. And Oxygen has just been absolutely so supportive of us during this.
Yeah.
That is so cool. As a media personality, I feel like both Sarah and I we work on like 15 different projects on the regular basis. When does it become one consolidated role, or does it never? And what opportunities do you know to take? Which ones are right?
That's a really good question, because on things like this, when I do it, they're like, let us know what your title is. And I'm like,
I struggle with that every damn day.
Yeah, because I've got 4 titles, right? Because I'm the host of Reality Check. I'm Andy Cohen's assistant. I'm the host of Martinis and Murder and the host of my other podcast called Scissoring Isn't a Thing, which is an LGBTQ friendly podcast. So it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm a slashy, as they say, it's like model, bartender, waitress, it's like all those things. Listen, I mean, I think now at 32, like I'm still sort of in the position where it's like, I just want more and more and more and hone those skills more and more and more. If it's something that I feel like, and I don't want to say is like beneath me, but maybe something that I feel like I've already done or I'm not going to learn. And maybe it's better to get a younger person in there. I can easily say no and not feel guilty about it. But for the most part right now, like I'm just so energized to just do everything I possibly can. I mean, certainly Martinis and Murder was something where it was like, oh, this is different than pop culture and Housewives. It's pop culture in a different way. And it sort of taps into this like intellectual part and this, social justice part that really is part of who I am. Like I want to have fun and party like the next person, but I'm reading about Charles Manson and, Ted Bundy. I really tap into that stuff. And so for me, I just knew it was a way to get this part of my brain that I wasn't utilizing before. Time is definitely a factor. I'm always auditioning for things. I try and go on as many podcasts, get my name out there as much as possible. But if it's something that's proving to affect, my current career, it's certainly going to be something that would be not representative of how I want to represent myself as Andy Cohen's assistant. I have no problem saying no. And it's pretty easy. Pretty much for Bravo, though, I'll say yes to anything.
Oh, my God. I'm telling you, we all need an Andy Cohen mentor. I mean, he has mentored you. We agree with everything that you say. Like we just love everything that you're doing. Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was it. Like he's just, and it's funny because the first piece of advice he gave me.
That's great.
maybe like a few months in, I was like, what's the best career advice you've ever gotten? And here's Andy Cohen telling me best piece of advice. You know what he said to me? He said, always take a vacation. And for a boss to say that to an assistant, I mean, that's crazy. To show the type of guy that he is. Like, come on. And my first vacation with him, I was only with him for about a year, and I was going on birthright to Israel. This is a guy that like monikered Mazel in the zeitgeist. And so I was like, he can't say no to a birthright trip to Israel, right? I was like,
that's incredible.
Refuse. And he was like, oh my God, that's great. Like, go, like update me the whole time. This is so fantastic. So it was pretty amazing. And he's been super supportive of any vacation I want to take. He's never said no to me, thank God.
Oh my gosh, Daryn, what a career. All right, we want to just do a couple rapid fire questions, and we're so grateful for your time. You're amazing. Okay, when are you coming out with the book? Because I feel like celebrity assistant book, I mean, the stories you must be able to tell of these celebrities backstage. I mean, changing their underwear 2 seconds before they're trying to go on, watch what happened. I mean, you must have the best celebrity stories.
Seriously.
I've actually sort of changed underwear before when Andy was going on New Year's Eve with Anderson, and I had to outfit them with all this like heated gear, and I had 2 seconds left and I had to charge it up. So I've kind of done that. I will say I'm not going to come out. What I've learned is you don't come out with a book until like the person you're writing about is either retired or dead. So I don't think I'll be talking any smack for a long time.
You got like 30 something years. Okay. The book is going to be that will be your sunset.
It's in the future. It's way in the future. And probably books all be audio or like, they might not even exist in 30 years from now. So who knows?
Love that. I wanted to know, we love Sonja Morgan on this show. When is her toaster oven coming out? What's the deal with that? Does she actually sell a single toaster oven?
That's a great question, and one I ask Sonja Morgan almost all the time. And she gives me some answer where I know less after asking her for a while.
Okay.
I tell her all the time, I'm like, Sonja, if you came out with a line of toaster ovens like right now today and sold it online, I think it would sell out in literally 2 seconds. People who already had toaster ovens, I feel like, would buy this. I certainly would be one of them. Let's say coming in 2021, because that feels like the right, far enough answer to give that it's vague. And then we could be like, coming in 2022, but I'd buy it. I'd certainly buy it. I'm a stan of Sonja Morgan in general.
Okay. My last rapid fire question. How did you not end up with Andy Cohen's dog? I saw that he rehomed it. I would have said, look, I would have called you up and said, Daryn, you've been my longtime assistant. You're taking this dog. How did you not end up with the dog?
Well, first off, I'm slightly allergic to dogs, and I live in a much. There's me and my boy right there.
Yes.
I was there with Waka from his adoption process to really when Andy had to, unfortunately, give Waka up to a great home. But the reason that Waka was a rescue, and the thing is I'm all about rescuing dogs, but the problem is sometimes they can have a vicious propensity, and certainly with Waka, he had a lot of psychological issues. He was beaten from his previous owner, and there was one time, and Waka and I, you can see in that picture, like we'd taken car trips together. I'd pick him up, I'd walk him, I'd take him, I'd do all this stuff. But a few years ago, Waka had attacked me, and I almost actually like broke a rib at watching like late at night. So I kind of got out of dog duties after that happened because I was really scared of that happen. And I wouldn't say that it's a story that's secret because Andy actually wrote about it in his book, but I certainly wasn't going to be the one to take Waka. I love him so much, and I'm glad he has a great home. But after the attack on me, I always felt pretty wary and a little hesitant. And I'm a lesbian and I'm a woman. I'm a cat girl all the way through. So I'm representing my brand here very well, but I obviously love dogs. It's funny. I had a troll DM me on Instagram. I'm not going to say her name, but she basically, when Andy came out saying that, she had Instagram me and I had a really bad day. And she was like, I'm sure a cat person like you would make Andy get rid of his dog. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Oh my God. Fuck all the way off.
Daryn, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, so because I like cats, I hate dogs. And also Waka attacked me, and I never told anyone that he did that, and like continued to be in Andy's life. And I probably could have forced Andy to get rid of the dog then, and I didn't at all.
Yeah.
So, fuck you a little bit, but it was just like, all right, really? Like, because I'm a cat person now, like I'm an evil person. It made me laugh, honestly, but it was just so annoying.
People love to attack cat people. It's true.
Yes, I'm a proud out cat
for
person.
you, girl.
I can say that here. Yes,
I love that. And another thing I read, last question from me. You said you're a little bit of a pothead, but you accomplish many things. Now, if I was a functioning pothead, I would get nothing done. But what's your favorite strand? Are you an upper or a downer?
Oh, I'm a sativa girl all the way. I pretty much use a hybrid, and I'm a classic old-fashioned joint roller. Like I like edibles, but I do find that it's like you're a little bit screwed once you take it because you don't know, it depends on what you eat that day, the time of day, how much you're consuming. Whereas like if you're smoking a joint, you kind of know the effect's going to wear out in an hour or two. And, I'm not a little bit of a pothead. I'm a lot of bit of a pothead.
And what is Andy Cohen like high?
He's great. He's so relaxed. He's like the most fun
really
ever.
chill.
It's funny because we relate a lot on our, we talk about it. There was a time in the beginning, 10 years ago, talking about pot was really a no-no, especially for anybody on air. And, even
Any
now,
entertainer, yeah.
Taboo. Yeah. And, I remember we didn't talk about it at all. It wasn't something that I ever brought up because I was like, I'm professional. I'm only going to let him bring it up if we whatever. And obviously in the past 5 years, I would say it's like, if you're not talking about smoking pot, it's like being gay. It's like, it's boring. Like everyone smokes pot.
Everybody. It's
especially with vape pens. Like I look at all the lawyers and the Wall Street guys in New York City hitting their vape at lunch. I'm like, you're smoking pot and I know it and I'm okay with it. He's a joint guy. He really likes edibles though. Edibles are his. That's his steez. He's been on edibles he's a Chiba Chew kind of guy. He got me into them. So I've been doing with those lately. But yeah, I'm an old fashioned J roller for sure.
That's hot. I do like that.
Well,
thank you.
We adore you. We can't wait to meet your cats and smoke weed with you. So
Let's do it.
As soon as quarantine 2021, we are making a trip to see you when all this is over. But no, we really
I'll have my toaster oven by then, and we can cook some, stoner snacks in the toaster oven.
We all should get high, do a review of Sonja Morgan's toaster, and then put it on YouTube. There it is.
I'm in.
We're ready for that.
Yes. Daryn, thank you so much for your time. We adore you. What a great career and just such great nuggets that you shared with us. So thank you.
Thanks for having me on. I love you both so much, and I can't wait to get high and toaster oven.
Yes!
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Daryn, you're awesome. Thank you.
I love you.